Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta Shri Krishna Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radharmana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radharmana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gaurani Jaya Gaurani Jaya Gaurani Jaya Gaurani Jaya Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Gaura Pimanande Dalimb Vishnupada Paramahamsa Pri Vratikacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandiviti Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Dainitai Gaura Pimanande All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada Ki. Okay, Prabhu, you can take my photo. Not my photo, my cell phone, and take. It's right there, actually. Yes. Jaydev is learning how to make garlands. Haribol. So I want you to take a photo of him learning to make garlands. Oh. Oh. Just be natural. Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukham karoti vasalam pagom langayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat kripa tamaham vande Sri Gurum Dinatharanam. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Just want to make sure everyone is here, awake, conscious. So, if I understand correctly, we were having a meeting with especially our teachers, is it?
Only for teachers.
No, there are 4 teachers here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4. Who's 5?
Where is did you?
Huh? Unless they might be preparing for exams, whatever. Actually, in many ways, Gurukula is meant to prepare teachers, primarily, traditionally. Yeah. Because in our Vedic culture, the Brahmanas are the ones who are teaching. I think of interest for both teachers and students, and for everyone, understanding, again, because naturally we want to discuss or talk in relation to Vedic education. And because Vedic education is so vastly, so very, very different from modern education, therefore it's important for all of us to really be, deeply rooted in our understanding of the basic principles and concepts that make up traditional education, which is unknown basically in modern day education. And that's why this type of education, Vedic education, which in our context actually, as we discussed a little bit this morning, goes beyond, let's say, just the traditional Gurukul, but also traditional Gurukul being what we call formal academic education, but also non-formal education, which we touched on in the purport we read this morning. And I want to present what is called the 5 pillars of Vedic education. I think you'll recognize all of them. And so as not to forget, because we don't have in modern day society Vedic culture established, Vedic culture is practically lost. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada introduced the whole concept of Varnasrama college. I don't know how often this topic of Varnasrama college is, maybe in Gurukul is less addressed, but Varnasrama college Prabhupada wanted that we have also. And generally that is meant for those who have had no exposure or no prior training to understand the basic principles of our Vedic culture. Maybe if time allows, we can come back to Varnasrama college, but I want to present, and as we discuss, or as I make this presentation, you can make some mental note if you have some question. Hopefully we'll have more than one question after our session today. So 5 pillars of education. When I was doing some research a few years ago, postgraduate study on the topic of sociology. Actually, even before that, on that, because I did my master's in education actually in Indonesia at a university that was specialized in education. Of course, not in traditional education, but I chose my topic. One section was what they call Pendidikan luar sekolah. That's Indonesia Bahasa Indonesia, a lot of which is very closely connected with Sanskrit. So luar sekolah, sekolah means school, of course. Luar means outside. Education outside of school means non-formal education. So I did a comparative study between the traditional Gurukulas in India and also the more or less equivalent in Indonesia, because Indonesia as a country just a few hundred years ago was Vaishnava country. And still today, although the religion is Islam, the culture is actually Vedic culture. So while doing that research, I came across these 5 pillars. I call them pillars because they are foundational to understanding about Vedic education. And I call them the 5 Ds. Number 1 is definition. Definition of knowledge, which naturally helps us to understand what is education. Second D is disposition. What kind of mental disposition on the part of both the teacher and the student. Definition, disposition. Third, design of curriculum. What subjects and from where. So design. And then the 4th D is delivery. Where and how this type of education is meant to be given. And the last D is direction or destination. What is meant to be the final outcome? What is the goal? Destination. So for all of these 5 pillars, we actually find references in our Shastra. Definition. If somebody has a Bhagavad Gita close by, can get Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 7, somebody can read it, and we immediately get the definition of Vedic education. 7.2. You can read it? 7.2. You can read, you. There's you and there's me. There's a difference.
Full text and translation. Text and translation.
Yes. Just the Sanskrit text and the translation.
Jnanam teham savidnyanam idam vakshami asheshatah yadnyatva neha bhuyonyat jnatavyam avashishyate.
Well-known verse. Of course. Yes. Translation.
I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, but performance and annihilance this
2 big words are there.
this being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know.
Yes. Very good.
Complete knowledge includes knowledge of
Here.
performance.
This will help. Help him with the mic.
Complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit behind it, and the source of both of them. This is transcendental knowledge. The Lord wants to explain the above-mentioned system of knowledge because Arjuna is Krishna's confidential devotee and friend. In the beginning of the 4th chapter, this explanation was given by the Lord, and it is again confirmed here. Complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord in disciplic succession, directly from the Lord. Therefore, one should be intelligent enough to know the source of all knowledge, who is the cause of all causes and the only object of meditation in all types of yoga practice. When the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known, and nothing remains unknown. The Vedas, Mundakopanishad 1.3 say, Kasmin u bhagavo vijñate sarvam idam vijñatam bhaviti. Bhavatiti.
Yes, very good. Yeah, good. Okay. So this is number one. Prabhupada often he would say, only those who are devotees have access to both spiritual and material knowledge. Proper spiritual, complete spiritual and complete material knowledge. So in other words, in education, for education to be actually complete, for knowledge to be complete, we must know the difference between spiritual knowledge, which is eternal knowledge, and also material knowledge. We must know the origin of both spiritual and material knowledge, and we must know the what is meant to be the interaction between spiritual and material knowledge. So this is something we don't find in modern education. Mostly, as we know, in modern education, they speak only about some material knowledge. But even that is material knowledge which is highly speculative, which is not coming actually directly from our Shastra. So in our Gurukulas, in our Varnasrama college, both in formal and non-formal education, this type of knowledge, spiritual as well as material knowledge, and their connection with Krishna. Yeah, ultimately we must come to that level or that platform of knowing the origin of that knowledge, not simply God, but knowing who is that God, isn't it? Yeah. So that is the simple, basic definition of knowledge, which naturally will directly affect the type of education we will be teaching. So this is very unique and very special within the context of our Vedic education. Now we go to the second of the five pillars, disposition. So disposition means what is meant to be the mental, we could say the mindset, the mental outlook of both the teacher and the student. So again, we go to Bhagavad Gita. Where did our Bhagavad Gita go? It went back on the shelf. We can keep the Bhagavad Gita here. Oh, it's here, right? Okay. So let's start with the teacher, 18th chapter, 43, 42, 43. That is the definition of teacher. Yeah. Yes. No, before. Sorry. Samodamastapa. Yeah. Translation.
Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work.
Yes. So these are the 9 basic qualities of a Brahmana, which means that these are the 9 basic qualities of a teacher. That's why in one of the purports in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes very clearly, if a teacher is smoking cigarette, he is unqualified to be teacher. If a teacher doesn't believe in God, he's unqualified to be a teacher. If a teacher is lacking in any of these qualities, he is unqualified to be a teacher. So how many qualified teachers do we have in our modern educational system? Probably not that many. Because those qualities are, yes. So in our Vedic culture, the teacher, who is a Brahmana, is held in the highest regard, given the most respect. Why? Because he is situated on the transcendental platform, meant to be situated, or in the very least, he is meant to be situated in the mode of goodness, isn't it? That's why in our Vedic culture, both brahmanas and cows are considered so important. That's why the whole system of village culture, Varnasrama culture, which is agrarian-based culture, means rural or village-based culture, which also means cow-based culture, automatically, naturally gives an opportunity for everyone to associate, to closely associate with those two living entities who are in the mode of goodness, brahmanas and cows and brahmanas. Isn't it? When we stop and think about it, this is a wonderful, it's like a genius, naturally, that only Krishna could create. He creates a system where automatically, on a daily basis, we are meant to interact and associate with cows and brahmanas, so that we, as conditioned souls in the material world, we can slowly, gradually rise at least to the mode of goodness. And when we're in the mode of goodness, then we can take up to spiritual life. We can practice nicely, bhakti, devotional service. So this type of mood and mentality needs to be there for the teacher. In other words, the teacher needs to be qualified. These are the qualifications. Also, in this second pillar, not only the teacher needs to be qualified, the student also needs to be qualified. For that, you have to go to chapter 4. Very well-known verse, Tadvidi pranipatena, as we call it. Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarsinaha. Translation.
Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth.
Yes. So Prabhupada, he would explain, just like in a marriage, husband and wife, both the husband and the wife, they must be qualified in order for a child to be conceived, isn't it? So in a similar way, teacher must be qualified and student must be qualified, and these are the qualities. Pranipat, humble, submissive mentality, a desire to render some service, and to be inquisitive. These are the three qualities needed. And in our Vedic culture, when a qualified teacher wants to share his knowledge, he will only share his knowledge with persons who are having these qualities, isn't it? He will choose his students, which is very different than our modern system of education. So that is the second of the 5 pillars. Definition then this disposition. Third, we were mentioning design of curriculum. Third. So design of curriculum will be either in the context of formal education or in the context of non-formal education. Within the context of formal education, it means that we will actually follow what is prescribed in the Shastra in terms of standard books of knowledge. That is called Chaturdasya Vidya. There are 14 standard books of knowledge in the traditional Gurukula, which gives one introduction and even advanced studies, both of a spiritual and material nature. So in other words, our curriculum within our Gurukulas, as well as Varnasrama College, should be from Shastra, not from some very famous author who wrote a book that is very popular, but that is all speculative, which is generally the case. We teach, we base our knowledge, we base our teaching on what is directly given by Krishna, isn't it? The Vedas are directly given at the beginning of every creation to Lord Brahma, and that knowledge is coming down in Guru Parampara. So curriculum within, let's say, non-formal education, curriculum should be in terms of what is meant to be the main, we could call it, the Vedic prescribed duties. What is the meaning of prescribed duties? Means what is recommended, prescribed. Prescribed meaning what is recommended according to Krishna, according to Shastra. It's not just any kind of duty or work or responsibility. So prescribed duties in the context of non-formal education, we discussed briefly this morning, are activities, all kinds of activities connected with cows and land, agriculture. Huh? Yes, Three Mothers is there. And which includes all kinds of different, what we call cottage industry. How to make cloth, making our own cloth, especially today the second largest polluting industry. What's the first largest polluting industry in the world today? Huh? Cosmetics. It's, well, petrol. Petrol, which of course cosmetics are made from petrol as well, yes. And the second largest polluting industry in the world? Textile. Yeah, most of our cloth is not real cloth, or it's not a himsa cloth. It is not natural cloth. It is synthetic, and it is not healthy for the body, nor is it healthy for the environment, isn't it? So that's why Srila Prabhupada, in wanting to set up self-sufficient communities, wanted us to learn how to make cloth also, isn't it? How to grow our own food in a natural way, how to build our homes in as natural, with using as much as possible natural ingredients, and how to make our own cloth, and also how to make our own medicine, isn't it? Because whatever we buy in the drugstore, it all comes ultimately, originally, in its pure form, minus the chemicals they add. It comes from the land. But traditionally, there was no need of a drugstore. People in the villages, Kaviraj was there, and even common people, they knew so many things. So, curriculum design in the context of Varnasrama College. Varnasrama College, actually, if we look in the Vedic books, is not actually there, because when Gurukula was established, automatically it would bring one up to the higher levels of education. I see the concept of Varnasrama College as a kind of a intermediate type of system to help our devotees, especially those who are elderly and who cannot come to Gurukul because they're already married or have a profession or whatever, but they can still be introduced to the what is called Chatur Vidya. It's something very important. We're preparing Varnashram College, working on that in Mayapur, and there will be 4 main faculties. Who has read about Chatur Vidya? This is? We find this in a book called the Kautilya Arthashastra, Chanakya. So this is important to know actually because it's connected with curriculum for Varnashram College. The first of 4 faculties, or the first of 4 vidyas or sciences, is called Anvikshiki. Anvikshiki, who's our Sanskrit scholar here? Besides Prabhu. Anvikshiki means the science of philosophy, metaphysics in the Western world. The science of philosophy, which is further divided into Sankhya, Yoga, Tarka. That is the first of the 4 sciences. The second science is called Trayi. Trayi means actually science of education, that is especially for the Brahmanas. And that's where we find these 14 books of knowledge, Chaturdasa Vidya, as we mentioned a few minutes ago. The third science is called Dandaniti. Dandaniti means, you're all from India? Huh? Science of politics. Dandaniti, very important science. We cannot establish Varnashram unless we study Dandaniti, the science of governance, isn't it? Monarchy, the basic principles of how to organize society, the whole big topic. And the fourth science, which is very important, especially for householders, is called Varta. Varta means the science of economics. And what is the definition of Vedic economics? What is that verse from the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita? The formula for Vedic economics. Krishi Goraksha Vanicham Vaishya Karma Swabhavatam. Yes. See, everything is there in our Shastra. That's why we have to build up our educational system based on Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. Yeah. So design of curriculum is very, very important. And Prabhupada would remind us that all the knowledge that we need, both spiritual as well as material knowledge, we find in our Shastra. So that's the third pillar. Fourth pillar is delivery. Delivery means where to give and how to give this knowledge. So Gurukul, traditional Gurukul, boarding school, where the students and the teacher, they reside together, they live together, they study together, they learn together, they grow together. And traditionally, teachers are not salaried. Like in modern day society, we pay teachers. In the Vedic system, a teacher, because actually knowledge is not meant to be sold. It is not a commodity to be sold. That's a whole other concept. In the Vedic culture, a number of things are not meant to be sold, including land, including food, including cows. They're meant to be given in charity. Of course, we're a long way from that Vedic culture, and we have to somehow work towards that. But that is, we should know, that is the standard, the ideal, isn't it? So teachers, that's why, again, in traditional Gurukul, there are no fees for the students. It is free education. Of course, because we don't have, in the Vedic times, the support would be there from government, from different sources as well. And somehow we have to manage, but we need to know, we should know that this is actually the ideal standard. I will ask a question. Is education, what's that word? Nowadays we have what is called, what's the term they use? Mandatory education. You have to go to mandatory, I think they call it. The question is education everyone's right? Is it everyone's, what's another word?
Is everyone eligible for getting educated? Adhikara.
Maybe put in another way, is it that everyone has a right to get education?
Right to education. Free and compulsory.
Actually, the angle that I want to bring in is that in the Vedic culture, to receive education is actually not everyone's right. It is a privilege. One has to qualify, which is what you're saying as well. Whereas in the modern day system, everyone has a right to education. But that is not the proper understanding. One must be qualified to receive that education, isn't it? And it is, it's just like, is it everyone's right to be a member of the Bhaktivedanta Gurukula? No. Only those who qualify, isn't it? It's a privilege to stay in a temple, for example. It is not that anyone and everyone can stay in the temple. They must agree to follow certain principles. So in a similar way, actually, within the Vedic culture, education, one must qualify. But back to our fourth, curriculum design. Not curriculum design. Was it delivery, right? Delivery. So it should be in a boarding school setting, and that education should be also freely given. It is not a business undertaking. Modern day education is a very big business, actually. Modern day agriculture is also a very big business, but it's not meant to be. They call it agro-business. Modern day dairy has become also big business. They call it dairy industry. These are all deviations, wrong understanding of what. And that's why unless we get this type of Vedic education, we will not understand why this is wrong. So definition, disposition, design, delivery, and the last one, direction, destination or direction. So in the Vedic culture, that is very clear that the primary purpose of all education, whether it is spiritual or material, is to become self-realized, is to attain the lotus feet of the Lord, is to know about bhakti, devotional service to Krishna. So if we look at these 5 pillars and compare them to modern day education, we will see that there's a big difference, isn't it? The purpose of modern education is basically to get a degree so that we can get a good job, etc., etc. That is not the purpose of education. So therefore, those who are teachers especially, they need to have this very wholesome, clear understanding of what is Vedic education and how Srila Prabhupada often, he would refer, what's the term that Prabhupada often used in describing modern education? Huh? Spiritual slaughterhouse. Another, and the Sanskrit term he used, Atma, Atmahana, the killer of the soul, killer of the soul. Because in modern education, the teachers don't recognize, don't understand, don't value, don't even know that the soul is there and that the soul within the body is what needs to be awakened. This is the type of education that is needed, or any other kind of education must lead one towards appreciating that original personality of Godhead. Yeah. So these are important principles that all of us, whether we are teachers or students, we need to understand, and we need to bring and incorporate within our Vedic educational system of either Gurukula or Varnasrama college. Yeah. These were the main 5 things I wanted to cover regarding education, and we can maybe open up for some questions on the part of our teachers or students, for that matter. Yeah. Yes.
Regarding the last point of destination,
Yes.
you mentioned that we have to go towards liberation or go towards back home, back to Godhead. In that direction we are supposed to go. The 3 considerations we have in this Gurukula.
Yes.
One part is that we want to have deep-rooted sadhakas who are
Yes.
dedicated for their spiritual cultivation.
Yes.
The second part of this is that we want to have materially well-established leaders that we provide to the society. And
Yes.
the third aspect we want to work on is those who have compassion of Prabhupada, which they are expressing through missionary activities. So 3 levels. One is a devotee,
Yes.
another is a Varnasrama well-established practitioner, and third is a missionary with a zeal to preach Krishna consciousness and go out and give it to others.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So I want to ask, the first part, devotee, we have worked out in terms of sadhana in the morning and the rest of the day being kept as Krishna conscious as possible.
Yes.
Varnashrama we are lacking because we don't yet have a Varnashrama college. I want to actually talk to you regarding how can we establish a Brahmana Varnashrama college, a Kshatriya and a Vaishya and a Sudra Varnashrama college eventually.
Yes.
And have a student exchange program between them.
Yes.
And the third part I want to work on is the missionary
Spirit. Yes.
So can you elaborate on the other 2?
Yes.
Which I didn't.
Yes. It's a little bit connected with the short discussion we had this morning regarding within our ISKCON society, for example, we don't have these systems in place. We don't have system for giving Upanayanam to young boys. We don't have, until and unless we establish, as desired by Srila Prabhupada very, very clearly, and on more than one occasion, Varnasrama colleges, within Varnasrama College, we need to formulate, this was actually a response, Prabhupada actually replied to a question that was being asked by a devotee. How do we, where do we start, or how do we do this? How do we establish Varnasrama in general? And it, I believe, connected also with Varnasrama College. So Prabhupada, he answered, it's there in the folio, that we have to design a curriculum for Brahmanas. We have to design another curriculum for Kshatriyas. We have to design a third curriculum for Vaishyas. And I would say that we have to design also another curriculum for Shudra. Because all four are actually important and essential to make up the whole system of Varnasrama. Especially when we consider that the largest population within that system will be within the category of Vaishya and Shudra. In the Vedic culture, Shudra actually is a very elevated level. There are nine qualifications needed, as described by Narada Muni in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. So, what I foresee, which is as soon as possible, is something that needs to be introduced. It might take a little longer because we're dealing with maybe institutional issues which sometimes delay certain things. But in different Gurukulas that are functional, which will be increasing more and more, we hear from both Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur and also Srila Prabhupada the importance of actually identifying the Varna of a young boy. In the Sajjana Toshani of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he gives 4 ways in which the Varna, before a young boy reaches the age of 15, his Varna should be identified. So that means that actually anywhere from the age of 10 to 15, we should have a system in place where our teachers, those who are responsible in our educational system, whether it's Gurukul or Varnasrama College, we want to do this in the context of Varnasrama College, let's say within 1 year of someone being full-time in that educational environment, that within 1 year, his Varna is ascertained. And there are specific, Vedic ways of doing that. Astrology, family lineage, observation, Kshatriya, not Kshatriya, but psychological tests. These are the prescribed ways. Because, as Prabhupada explained, and as we can easily understand, the Varna will determine the kind of education that one will receive. And the Varna is also directly connected with the ashram. Varna determines the education, which means also the occupation, and also the ashram. So Varna identification for those devotees who will not be living their whole life in a temple, which is the majority, is very important because we have to deal with the external world. Yeah. So we have a great need to actually have individuals who are in the educational field understand the importance and also know how to identify and select the Varna of individuals. And as Prabhupada explained, Varnashram will be for the older boys, which will be, again, according to their nature, will be orienting them towards a particular activity within the system of Varnasrama Dharma. So it's just like in any college and university, If somebody is interested in politics, then he will take courses connected with politics. If somebody's interested in agriculture, he will go to that faculty where they teach about farming and cow protection, etc. like that. So because we have not yet introduced the concept of Varnasrama college, for which Prabhupada gave us some a good amount of clear instructions, therefore we are would not be able to kind of evolve or develop that aspect, and that's directly affecting our ability to move forward in terms of Varnashram. Varnashram. So therefore, there's a direct link between establishing Varnashram colleges, where these standard faculties or standard sciences that help shape the community or society, general society, need to be learned, and then gradually need to be, taught. We have a number of devotees I'm working with where we are kind of gradually moving in that direction, and we're hoping to have both actually, Gurukul as well as Varnashram College. Actually, it's very interesting, in this essay called Gita Nagari. How many know about Gita Nagari essay? Yeah, this little less known. When was the Gita Nagari essay written by Srila Prabhupada? 1956. It appeared in his Bhaktivedanta magazine. So in that essay of Gita Nagari, Prabhupada speaks about Gurukula. A very interesting point he makes. He gave a name for his Gurukul, in that essay, Gita Pachala. Gita Pachala. And Prabhupada mentions that in our Gurukul, we will not accept boys over the age of 7. Stressing and pointing out how actually, as early as possible, Vedic education should be taken up by young boys. Which means that actually once they reach the age of we say adolescence, from the age of 13 approximately, then they will be more, their nature will be more known, and their direction in terms of studies with the idea of future occupation will also be more clear. So what was the responsibility previously in villages by the elderly brahmanas? The elderly brahmanas, it was one of their foremost duties to actually make sure that, let's say between the age of 10 and 15, they identify the nature of a young boy. And it is made known to everyone in the village. Especially it's made known to that person. Yeah. And Prabhupada actually mentions that when we develop these curriculum, then we will designate. We're already doing that, but it's not complete. In our ISKCON society, we have some devotees, not just anybody. We have devotees who have, we call it a Brahmana thread, but actually we should not call it a Brahmana thread. It's a sacred thread. Because in Vedic culture, a sacred thread is not only for Brahmanas. It's for Brahmanas, it's for Kshatriyas, and it's for Vaishya, for the Dvija. And there are guidelines as to what mandatory activities they should be doing every day, such as studying the Shastra. In the Kautilya Arthashastra, Chanakya explains how a king studies Shastra 3 times a day. Maybe not as long as a Brahmana, but he touches base. He has connection with Shastra. Because a king, Vedic king, one of his most important responsibilities is to uphold the principles of dharma. He must know about dharma. But because dharma is a very deep subject matter, at times he needs guidance from brahmanas who know more deeply about dharma. So Varnashram in general and Varnashram College, there's a very close, intimate connection. And I would say that one of the reasons that we have delayed so much, and even now, delayed in our putting into practice, let's say, Varnashram lifestyle or developing communities, is because we've not introduced Varnashram College. And therefore we are vague and not really understanding many of the basic principles. And the other point you're making, which is most important as well, developing missionary spirit. This development of missionary spirit must come of its own. Means we need to create the environment and the atmosphere to the best of our ability, those who are in leadership, teaching position, so that it will kind of grow on its own. For example, if we hear on a regular basis, as you are doing, the activities of our founder Acharya and how he single-handedly went to the Western countries and all of the hardship that he voluntarily accepted for spreading the mission of his Guru Maharaj and the mission of our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the more we hear about such type of examples, then this will favor, of course, that development of the missionary spirit. I'm sure there are other ways as well. It's good to have some of our students, whenever time allows, whenever there may be holidays, to be part of some activities that are more of a spirit of a missionary nature, such as going on distribution of books, or coming in contact with other yatras, coming in contact with devotees who have very much already developed that missionary spirit, giving an opportunity for our devotees to understand what our movement is all about. Mainly, our movement, as Prabhupada reminded us again and again, since the time of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is a preaching movement. So yes, but that cannot be forced upon anyone. The only thing we can do is to create as favorable situation and atmosphere so that it can just naturally kind of arise. That yes, I want to be part of this most important mission, because that's how Srila Prabhupada presented it. Most important organization, most important mission that is going on in the world is the one that Srila Prabhupada has given us, is the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to reclaim the conditioned souls in the world and give them that gift of Krishna consciousness. So these are good points. And I think gradually, as we have more such kind of Gurukula projects established, and especially those who are the teachers and heading up these projects, they need to have, of course, this. We need, all of us, ultimately, all of us need to develop Srila Prabhupada's vision, isn't it? We need to see how Prabhupada, many years before leaving India, already had the vision of how to introduce Krishna consciousness, which is the need of the hour, and how to go about systematically. I mentioned or not to you about, that's also in the essay Gita Nagari. I think maybe not. the 4 phases that Prabhupada envisioned.
4 waves.
4 waves, 4 movements.
4 movements.
Prabhupada calls 4 movements. It's important for devotees actually to know that Prabhupada put down on paper, not only in the essay of Gita Nagari, but also 6 years before that. Actually 7 years. In 1949. How many were here in 1949? Probably not many. So, in 1949, Prabhupada wrote a very, very important letter to the Deputy Minister of India, Dr. Patel. It's in the folio. That letter is directly, I discovered that letter quite some years back, but when I discovered that letter, I connected it actually with the essay of Gita Nagari. And that was like, to me, wow, a reconfirmation of Prabhupada's very clear-cut vision. And for everyone's benefit, I'll just mention it very briefly. Prabhupada speaks about 4 movements. The first one being, he calls it Sankirtan movement, based on the holy name and the holy books, sacred books. Sankirtan movement. Second movement, Prabhupada, he gives it the name, temple worship movement, establishing centers, temples, where the Archa Vigraha form of the Lord is there so that people can come and know and have darshan, right? The third movement, Prabhupada called it spiritual initiation movement. Spiritual initiation movement means giving training, giving opportunity for people to learn and to become committed by taking eventually formal initiation and becoming part of Krishna's family, Krishna's spiritual family. That's the third. And the fourth one, Prabhupada gave it the name Classless Society Movement, which initially is a little problematic in the sense that we cannot immediately understand, but classless society in the context that Prabhupada speaks about it means it is Daiva Varnasrama, where all the members of the Varnas or Asramas, they are all focused on serving Krishna. They're all practicing devotees. They're all engaged in devotional service. So therefore, so therefore there is no, if the members are practicing nicely, then there is no unnecessary rivalry, isn't it? When we're not focused on the same, then there will be clashes. So Daiva Varnasrama, Prabhupada translates Varnasrama as divine culture. Divine culture. And that is the system, because it's created by Krishna, that will more easily and favor our advancement of general society, of all the members in society, towards the primary goal and purpose of life. Yeah. Any other? Yes.
Maharaj, as you mentioned that till 15 we should get our Varna and Ashram clear. So what steps can we take to make it clear?
What?
What steps can we take?
Okay. What steps can we take? Just a small correction. It's not that by the age of 15 you have to determine your ashram. Before the age of 15, that is the general guidance given by our acharyas, we should have understanding of our varna. And that once we know our varna, that will help us in the future to understand in which ashram. For example, Brahmana, all 4 ashrams are open. Kshatriya, 3 ashrams are open. Vaishya, 2 ashrams, like that. So what we need to do to prepare ourselves is your question, right? We need to become good students. We need to develop a good a good sadhana, and to understand our Varna may not always, generally we need the help of those who are more senior and more knowledgeable, and they can help us understand our Varna. It's not that we choose, okay, I like this Varna, I don't like that. Okay, today I'm this and tomorrow I'm something else. Not like that. So it is something very scientific, and therefore it is meant to be taken up and addressed by those who are the wisest in the community. Generally that means the elderly brahmanas and the elders in the village as well. So on the part, let's say, of a student just needs to practice nicely as a devotee, and the more we do this individually, then our nature will automatically become manifest. And there are, we could say that it needs to be confirmed, we could say approved and confirmed by the elders, by those who are having more deep knowledge and understanding. In one way, if somebody is living in a temple, it is maybe less critical because we are called upon sometimes to do all kinds of services which may be generally connected with different varnas. But when we live outside in a community and interact, then it becomes more important to actually know and understand our varna. So the best way for us to prepare for knowing and adjusting to our varna is simply to be good students, which means to be regulated, and then this will more naturally, more quickly develop and happen. Yeah. Yes. Good question. Thank you. So it may already be time. Yeah. Yes.
हरे कृष्ण। मैं हिंदी में संक्षेप में बता रहा हूँ श्रीगण महाराज ने क्या कहा। आज के प्रवचन का शीर्षक था एस्टैब्लिशिंग वर्णाश्रम विलेजेस एंड कॉलेजेस, और ये डेफिनेशन, डिजाइन, डिलीवरी, डायरेक्शन या डेस्टिनेशन, इसके ऊपर महाराज जी ने फोकस दिया। डेफिनेशन में उन्होंने भगवद गीता 7.2 कि मैटर, स्पिरिट एंड कंट्रोलर ऑफ बोथ, ये तीनों का परिपूर्ण ज्ञान प्राप्त करना, भौतिक चीजें, हम कौन है और भगवान कौन है, ये डेफिनेशन है सही ज्ञान एजुकेशन का। डिस्पोजिशन में उन्होंने शिक्षकों का डिस्पोजिशन में बताया, शमोदमो तपश्चौचम शांतिरार्जवमेव च ज्ञानम विज्ञानम आस्तिक्यम ब्रह्म कर्म स्वभावचम, ये 9 गुण विकसित करने चाहिए शिक्षकों को। और छात्रों के लिए उन्होंने कहा कि सही डिस्पोजिशन है प्रणिपात, परिप्रश्न और सेवा, हम्बल, सबमिसिव, रेडी टू डू सर्विस एंड गुड इंक्वायरीज, क्वेश्चंस। फिर उन्होंने डिजाइन क्या होना चाहिए, करिकुलम क्या होना चाहिए, उसके बारे में बताया। उन्होंने कहा कि फॉर्मल एजुकेशन में शास्त्रिक बेस होना चाहिए, चतुर्दश विद्या जो 14 बुक्स ऑफ नॉलेज है वहां से स्टडी करना चाहिए, और नॉन फॉर्मल में वैदिक प्रिस्क्राइब्ड ड्यूटीज जो है हमारे आगे आने वाले, उनका स्टडी होना चाहिए। एवरीथिंग कनेक्टेड विथ लैंड, काउज एंड कॉटेज इंडस्ट्री, ये पूरा सबको आना चाहिए। अथ टू इति ऑफ भू माता की सेवा, गौ माता की सेवा, कॉटेज इंडस्ट्री फॉर फूड प्रोसेसिंग, क्लॉथ, शेल्टर, मेडिसिन एंड एनर्जी, ये कॉटेज इंडस्ट्री के सारे ट्रेनिंग होने चाहिए हमारे। और चतुर्विद्या करके दूसरा ये है जो वर्णाश्रम कॉलेज में खास करके सिखाया जाना चाहिए, ये कौटिल्य अर्थशास्त्र पर आधारित है। इसमें आता है अन्वीक्षिकी, त्रयी, दंड नीति और वार्ता। अन्वीक्षिकी यानी फिलोसॉफी, त्रयी यानी ये चतुर्दश विद्या, दंड नीति यानी पॉलिटिक्स एंड गवर्नेंस, वार्ता यानी कृषि, गोरक्षा एंड वाणिज्य। इनका ट्रेनिंग, खेती कैसे करते हैं, गौ सेवा कैसे करते हैं और कॉमर्स ट्रेड कैसे चलाते हैं। फिर महाराज ने उदाहरण दिया कि ये ना सीखने से क्या हुआ है, तो उन्होंने कहा कि दो मोस्ट पोल्यूटिंग इंडस्ट्रीज, एक है पेट्रोलियम, दूसरा है टेक्सटाइल। इनके कारण हम कितना समाज को, पर्यावरण को बर्बाद कर रहे हैं वो हम देख सकते हैं, क्योंकि ये सब ज्ञान न होने के कारण हम ऐसा कर रहे हैं। उसके बाद महाराज ने डिलीवरी पे बताया, वेयर एंड हाउ टू डिलीवर दिस ट्रेनिंग। तो मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट प्लेस टू डिलीवर दिस इज रेसिडेंशियल गुरुकुला, जिसमें बोर्डिंग है और वो फ्री है एजुकेशन सिस्टम। इसमें वैदिक समय के अनुसार ही गिव लैंड, काउस, फूड, मेडिसिन, गुड काउंसिल, ये सारी चीजें इन चैरिटी, ये हमारा प्रिंसिपल था। इस आइडियल तक हमें जाना है। अनलाइक द कंपल्सरी एंड फ्री एजुकेशन फॉर ऑल, उसके नाम पे सब उल्टा सुल्टा सिखाया जा रहा है। वैदिक एजुकेशन वाज ओनली फॉर क्वालिफाइड एंड सिलेक्टेड फ्यू, तो वो हमें उस तरफ जाना है। फिर उसके बाद महाराज ने डायरेक्शन एंड डेस्टिनेशन के बारे में बताया कि दुर्देहम आद्यम सुलभम सुदुर्लभम, भगवान की तरफ ले जाने वाला ये मनुष्य शरीर है, उसे उसी दिशा में ले जाना चाहिए, हमें कुत्ते बिल्लियों की दिशा में नहीं ले जाना चाहिए। और मैंने जो प्रश्न पूछा था कि एक हुआ साधक के रूप में क्या ट्रेनिंग चाहिए, डेस्टिनेशन चाहिए, लेकिन दो और चीजें मुझे जाननी है। एक है वर्णाश्रम के तहत और दूसरा है मिशनरी एक्टिविटीज के तहत। तो महाराज ने उसका बहुत सुंदर जवाब दिया, मेरे को इतना अच्छा लगा ये जवाब। मैं पहले बताता हूँ महाराज ने वर्णाश्रम एस्टेब्लिशमेंट के लिए क्या कहा। उन्होंने कहा कि सबसे पहले हमें एक करिकुलम बनाना चाहिए, डिजाइन अ करिकुलम फॉर ब्राह्मणास, क्षत्रियास, वैश्यास एंड शूद्रास ट्रेनिंग प्रॉपरली। दूसरा, आइडेंटिफाई वर्ण ऑफ ईच बॉय बिफोर एज 13 to 15, इसके बीच में हमें वर्ण आइडेंटिफाई कर लेना चाहिए। और कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे, महाराज ने कहा कि फैमिली लिनिएज देखो उसका, कौन से परिवार में जन्म आया, जेनेटिक्स। दूसरा, साइकोलॉजी टेस्ट लो उसके। और तीसरा, एस्ट्रोलॉजी, उससे समझ में आएगा। 13 के आगे इसका ही ट्रेनिंग होना चाहिए वर्णाश्रम कॉलेज का खास करके, और उनको फिर आश्रम अरेंज करके देना चाहिए हमें। महाराज ने कहा कि जो ब्राह्मण होते हैं वो चारों आश्रमों के लिए एलिजिबल है, ब्रह्मचर्य, गृहस्थ, वानप्रस्थ, संन्यास। जो क्षत्रिय है वो ब्रह्मचर्य, गृहस्थ, वानप्रस्थ तक ही एलिजिबल है। जो वैश्य है वो ब्रह्मचर्य और गृहस्थ तक ही एलिजिबल है, और शूद्र जो है सीधा गृहस्थ के लिए एलिजिबल है। तो ऐसे महाराज ने कहा। इसके बाद महाराज ने गीता नगरी ऐसे जो है प्रभुपाद जी का 1956 वाला, उसमें वो गीता पाठशाला का वर्णन बताते हैं। 7 साल के पहले बच्चे को ट्रेनिंग के लिए लेना चाहिए, एल्डरली ब्राह्मण्स होने चाहिए जो पूरे विलेज के बच्चों को ट्रेनिंग देने के लिए तैयार बैठे हैं। उन्होंने उनका वर्ण डेजिग्नेट करना चाहिए और फिर उसका आश्रम भी डेजिग्नेट करके ट्रेनिंग चालू कर देना चाहिए। और फिर ये सेक्रेट थ्रेड है, ये सबको मिलना चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं कि ब्राह्मण थ्रेड है और सिर्फ ब्राह्मणों को मिलता है। तो हमें नॉमेनक्लेचर चेंज करना है, ये सेक्रेट थ्रेड सेरेमनी होना चाहिए हमारे इस्कॉन में, इसका नाम। और किंग ऑल्सो स्टडीड शास्त्र 3 times a day, क्योंकि उसको धर्म के तत्व मालूम होने चाहिए और फिर उनकी रक्षा करना है उसको, तो हर एक को शास्त्र अध्ययन करना चाहिए। फिर महाराज ने कहा कि मिशनरी स्पिरिट कैसे डेवलप किया जाए बच्चों के अंदर, उसका भी बहुत ही सुंदर जवाब दिया। उन्होंने कहा कि पहले हमें जो हॉलीडेज होते हैं बच्चों के, उसमें उनको अच्छा एंगेजमेंट देना चाहिए जिसमें मिशनरी स्पिरिट डेवलप हो। उसमें एक्टिविटीज हो सकते हैं जैसे बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के लिए जाना, स्टडीइंग एंड हेल्पिंग अदर्स यात्रास, अलग अलग इस्कॉन की जो प्रोजेक्ट्स है उसमें जाकर अनुभव करना, वो लोग क्या कर रहे हैं और उनका अच्छा क्या है, हम क्या जोड़ सकते हैं उनके साथ, फिर हरिनाम इत्यादि। और फिर स्टडी इस्कॉन मूवमेंट एंड स्टडी प्रभुपाद इन द हॉलीडेज मोर, अंडरस्टैंड प्रभुपाद मूड, मिशन, टीचिंग्स, एग्जांपल। और तो उससे हम ये इस्कॉन का मिशनरी स्पिरिट डेवलप करेंगे। और साथ में हमें ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एंड इंटेलिजेंस वो भी डेवलप करना चाहिए टू रन इस्कॉन प्रोजेक्ट्स, तो उसका भी ट्रेनिंग होना चाहिए। तो इससे हमारा मिशनरी स्पिरिट जो है वो यशस्वी होगा। फिर महाराज ने 1949 का एक लेटर था, लेटर टू हु महाराज?
Dr. Patel,
Dr. Patel.
Deputy Minister. the Deputy Prime Minister of India at the time.
डेप्यूटी प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया डॉक्टर पटेल, उनके लिए लेटर लिखा था, वो भी बहुत जबरदस्त है। उसमें वो 4 वेव्स का वर्णन करते हैं, 4 मूवमेंट्स का। पहला है संकीर्तन मूवमेंट, जहां हरि नाम और दिव्य ग्रंथ लोगों के समक्ष लाए जाते हैं। दूसरा है टेंपल वर्शिप मूवमेंट, इसमें भगवान की अर्चना और वैष्णव सदाचार सिखाया जाता है लोगों को, वैष्णव का लाइफस्टाइल। और तीसरा है स्पिरिचुअल इनिशिएशन मूवमेंट, इसमें दीक्षा और शिक्षा थोड़ा उन्नत स्तर का, आध्यात्मिक लेवल का दिया जाता है। और इसका पर्पस है कि लोग आजीवन वैष्णव का पालन कर पाए। और फिर क्लासलेस सोसाइटी वेव, यानी दैव वर्णाश्रम का पालन करना। ब्राह्मण क्षत्रिय वैश्य शूद्र हैं हम, वो तो मटेरियल डेजिग्नेशन है हमारा, लेकिन हम सब भक्त हैं। ये मायने नहीं रखता कि कौन किसके वर्ण का है, हम एक दूसरे को एक आध्यात्मिक स्वरूप में देखते हैं। ये इससे क्या होगा, अननेसेसरी या अनफेवरेबल राइवलरी या कंपटीशन नहीं होगी, एक दूसरे के साथ शत्रुता या स्पर्धा। और फिर आदिकेश्वर ने प्रश्न पूछा, हाउ टू आइडेंटिफाई माय वर्ण। तो महाराज ने उसके लिए 7 पॉइंट बोले। पहला कहा कि बी अ गुड स्टूडेंट, पहले अच्छा विद्यार्थी बनो, तुमको जो आ रहा है सामने अच्छे से पढ़ो। दूसरा, गुड साधना भक्ति, अच्छा साधना करो ताकि तुम्हारा ओरिजिनल नेचर खुलकर सामने आए। एंड ऑफ कोर्स प्रे टू कृष्णा, साधना करते समय कि मेरे को बताइए मुझे क्या करना है। फिर है चौथा, हेल्प फ्रॉम सीनियर एंड नॉलेजेबल डिवोटीज, आपके वरिष्ठ या अनुभवी लोगों से हेल्प लीजिए। पांचवा है प्रैक्टिस सर्विंग एवरीबडी एज अ ब्रह्मचारी। ब्रह्मचारी मतलब इज सर्वेंट ऑफ एवरीबडी, तो उसने अगर सेवा करना सीख ली है तो आगे जाके वो अपने किसी भी वर्ण में सेवा अच्छा करेगा। और आखिरी में उन्होंने कहा कि कंफर्म एंड गेट अप्रूवल फ्रॉम योर गुरुस। जब आपका वर्ण आइडेंटिफाई हो जाए तो उसको कंफर्मेशन दो कि ये सही मैं कर रहा हूँ, इस तरीके से तुम आगे बढ़ो। Thank you very much, Maharaj. What a wonderful and crisp and very thoughtfully given presentation. Let's thank Maharaj by once chanting Hare Krishna mantra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.